Hey everyone! The pyramids of Egypt. They stand colossal and enigmatic, defying the ravages of time and challenging our every assumption. Particularly the monumental structures of Giza are etched into our collective consciousness as the ultimate testament to ancient Egyptian genius. We've been taught their story: pharaohs, countless laborers, ingenious ramps, and a civilization driven by a profound connection to the afterlife. But what if the truth is far more extraordinary? What if the very stones of these ancient wonders whisper a different tale, one that history books have yet to fully capture? Have you ever looked at the sheer scale, the impossible precision, the astronomical alignments, and felt a flicker of doubt? A nagging question: how did they truly do it? And more provocatively, who truly did it? Imagine for a moment that the builders weren't who we think they were. What if a forgotten civilization, possessing knowledge far beyond our current understanding, laid these foundations? What if visitors from distant galaxies left their indelible mark on our planet, shaping human destiny in ways we can only begin to comprehend? Or what if the very fabric of reality holds secrets about their construction that we're only now beginning to uncover? Before we start, I would like to know where you are watching this video from, and what time is it? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, while you are at it, please do like and subscribe so we can bring out more content like this. Now let's get started. For centuries, the story of the Egyptian pyramids has been told with a certain reverence, a narrative firmly rooted in the sands of time and the meticulous work of archaeologists. It is a tale of an ancient civilization, driven by profound spiritual beliefs and possessing an organizational genius that allowed them to achieve what, even today, seems almost impossible. This is the conventional narrative, the bedrock upon which our understanding of these colossal structures rests. In the heart of the Old Kingdom, roughly from 2686 to 2181 BCE, ancient Egypt reached an unprecedented zenith of power, wealth, and cultural sophistication. At the core of this society was the pharaoh, not merely a king, but a living god, the divine intermediary between humanity and the pantheon of Egyptian deities. The pharaoh's eternal well-being was paramount, for it ensured the prosperity and continuity of Egypt itself. His divine essence was believed to be essential for the annual flooding of the Nile, the fertility of the land, and the very cosmic order of Ma'at. Death was not an end, but a transition, a perilous yet hopeful journey into the afterlife, and the pharaoh required an eternal dwelling, a monumental testament to his divine status that would safeguard his passage to the stars and secure his continued influence over the living world. This belief permeated every aspect of their society, from the humblest farmer to the highest priest, fostering a collective will to contribute to the pharaoh's eternal house. This profound belief in an elaborate afterlife spurred the evolution of royal tombs, each iteration grander and more complex than the last. Initially, pharaohs were buried in mastabas, low, rectangular brick or stone structures with sloping sides, designed to protect the burial chamber beneath. But the ambition grew, fueled by both theological necessity and burgeoning architectural skill. Around 2630 BCE, during the reign of Pharaoh Djoser of the Third Dynasty, a visionary named Imhotep, often hailed as the world's first recorded architect, conceived of stacking mastabas one upon another, creating the world's first true stone building of monumental scale, the Step Pyramid at Saqqara. This was a revolutionary leap, not just in size, but in the permanent use of dressed stone as a primary building material, demonstrating a mastery of quarrying, cutting, and precise placement previously unseen in such a grand public work. The Step Pyramid complex, with its surrounding walls, courtyards, and ceremonial buildings, was a city for the dead, a precursor to the even grander designs that would follow. The architectural journey continued with relentless innovation, marked by the ambitious and sometimes challenging reign of Snefru, the founding pharaoh of the Fourth Dynasty and the father of Khufu. Snefru, a prolific builder in his own right, experimented extensively with pyramid shapes and construction techniques. His first attempt, the Medum Pyramid, began as a step pyramid, but was later converted into a true pyramid, though its outer casing eventually collapsed. His subsequent project, the Bent Pyramid at Dashur, famously exhibits a peculiar angle change midway up its sides, a clear and tangible learning curve in the pursuit of perfection, likely due to structural concerns encountered during construction. Undeterred, Sneferu then commissioned the Red Pyramid, also at Dashur. which finally achieved the smooth, true pyramid form with a consistent angle, setting the definitive architectural precedent and paving the way for the greatest of all, the pyramids of Giza. These earlier pyramids served as essential proving grounds, allowing Egyptian architects and engineers to refine their techniques, scale their operations, and perfect the geometry that would culminate in the wonders of Giza. The Giza Plateau, rising majestically from the desert on the western bank of the Nile, became the sacred canvas for the most iconic structures ever conceived by humanity. Here stand the Great Pyramid of Khufu, the Pyramid of Khafre, and the Pyramid of Menkaure, along with their associated mortuary temples, causeways, valley temples, and smaller satellite pyramids for queens and mastabas for high officials. Khufu's pyramid, the largest and oldest of the three, originally soared to a height of 146.6 meters, 481 feet, and stood for millennia as the tallest man-made structure on Earth. Its sheer scale, encompassing over 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons, remains a testament to the absolute peak of Old Kingdom engineering and organizational capacity. The conventional explanation for their construction is as fascinating as the structures themselves, a logistical marvel of its age. It begins with the quarrying of immense quantities of stone, the very raw material of eternity. The primary material, local nummulitic limestone, was abundantly extracted from quarries directly adjacent to the Giza Plateau, making its transport relatively straightforward. For the finer gleaming casing stones that once covered the entire exterior, and for the internal chambers requiring superior strength and finish, higher quality Tura limestone was brought from quarries located across the Nile River, a journey requiring sophisticated river transport. Even more formidable were the granite blocks, especially those used for the king's chamber and relieving chambers within Khufu's pyramid, which were transported all the way from Aswan, hundreds of miles to the south, a monumental undertaking that speaks volumes about the Egyptians' determination and logistical prowess. The methods of extraction were surprisingly simple, yet remarkably effective, demonstrating an intuitive understanding of geology and mechanics. For softer limestone, copper chisels, though relatively soft themselves, combined with wooden mallets, were used to cut and shape the blocks. For the much harder granite, dolerite balls, a heavy hard igneous stone, were used as pounding tools, repeatedly striking and grinding the rock into the desired forms. Wedges of wood, driven into natural cracks or artificially created fissures in the rock, would then be soaked with water. As the wood expanded, it would exert immense pressure, splitting the stone along natural fault lines with remarkable precision. Evidence of these techniques, including discarded tools and quarry marks, has been found extensively at ancient quarry sites. Once quarried, these colossal blocks, some weighing many tons, had to be moved across vast distances. The Nile River was the indispensable highway for the heaviest and most distant stones, especially the granite from Aswan and the high-quality Tora limestone. Specially constructed barges, sometimes lashed together to form larger platforms, would transport the blocks downstream during the annual inundation of the Nile, when the floodwaters brought the river closer to the construction site, reducing the overland haulage distance significantly. For overland transport from the river's edge to the pyramid site, archaeological evidence, including depictions in tombs and remnants of ancient roadways, strongly suggests the use of wooden sledges. Recent discoveries, such as a 4,500-year-old ramp system found at Hatnub, and modern experimental archaeology, indicate that water or lubricated sand might have been poured in front of the sledges to reduce friction, allowing teams of men to drag even the heaviest blocks across specially prepared, hardened causeways with remarkable efficiency. This system, while labor-intensive, was entirely feasible with the sheer number of workers available. The most debated and visually impressive aspect of construction involves how these massive stones were lifted to such incredible heights, culminating in the apex of the Great Pyramid. The prevailing theory, supported by archaeological findings and engineering principles, centers on the use of ramps. While no complete ramp has been preserved, various types have been proposed and modeled. A single straight ramp extending from the base, which would have become impossibly long and steep. A spiral ramp winding around the pyramid's exterior, perhaps supported by the growing structure itself, or even an internal ramp system, as suggested by some modern research using muon tomography. Experiments and computer models suggest that a combination of these methods, perhaps evolving over the decades of construction as the pyramid rose, could have been employed. Simple levers, rocker systems, and wooden rollers, used in conjunction with the ramps, would have been crucial for adjusting and precisely positioning blocks once they reached their intended level, allowing for the astonishingly tight fits observed between stones. Crucially, the workforce behind this monumental undertaking was not, as popular myth often suggests, a vast army of enslaved people toiling under the lash. Archaeological finds, particularly the extensive discovery of well-organized workers' villages at Giza, reveal a fundamentally different and more nuanced picture. These were not slaves, but skilled laborers, craftsmen and farmers who worked on the pyramids during the annual inundation of the Nile, when their agricultural fields were submerged and they could not farm. They were organized into highly efficient teams and gangs, housed in purpose-built barracks with bakeries, breweries, and even medical facilities. They were fed with vast quantities of bread, beer, and meat, a diet far superior to that of the average Egyptian farmer, indicating their value and importance to the state. Their cemeteries, found nearby, show that they were respected members of society, buried with dignity, and sometimes even with grave goods, a stark contrast to the brutal treatment typically meted out to slaves. This was a national project, a source of immense pride, and a way for citizens to contribute directly to the pharaoh's eternal journey, and by extension, to the stability and prosperity of Egypt. The entire operation was a marvel of ancient administration, a testament to the highly centralized and sophisticated bureaucracy of the Old Kingdom. A vast network of scribes, overseers, and master architects managed the logistics, from the precise scheduling of quarrying operations and the coordination of vast transportation fleets, to the intricate planning for the precise placement of each individual stone. The planning was meticulous, reflecting a deep understanding of geometry, basic physics, astronomy, and engineering principles. Simple yet effective tools like plumb bobs, set squares, measuring ropes made of palm fiber, and observation of the stars were their instruments for achieving the astounding accuracy seen in the pyramids' almost perfect alignment to cardinal points, north, south, east, west, and the incredible levelness of their bases, which vary by only a few centimeters across hundreds of meters. As the core structure of the pyramid rose, the final touch was the application of a gleaming outer layer of fine white Torah limestone casing stones, carefully cut and polished to a brilliant sheen. These stones would have made the pyramids shimmer under the desert sun, reflecting light with blinding intensity. The very top of each pyramid would have been crowned with a capstone, or pyramid, often made of granite and sometimes plated with gold or electrum, ensuring it caught the first and last rays of the sun, and making the pyramid visible for miles around as a beacon of divine power. Over millennia, most of these valuable casing stones were stripped away for other building projects, leaving the rough stepped appearance we see today. Eventually, the era of grand pyramid building waned. By the end of the Old Kingdom and into subsequent periods, pharaohs opted for less costly and more easily concealed rock-cut tombs in places like the Valley of the Kings. This shift was driven by a complex interplay of factors: economic shifts that made such massive state-sponsored projects less feasible, changing religious practices that placed less emphasis on the pyramid as the sole royal tomb, and the increasing persistent problem of tomb robbery, which rendered the highly visible pyramids vulnerable despite their immense protective measures. The conventional narrative, far from being mere speculation, is a robust and continually evolving understanding. It is supported by a vast and continually growing body of archaeological evidence: the remains of workers' villages, the discovery of ancient tools left at quarries, the invaluable insights gleaned from ancient papyri detailing administrative processes and daily life, the clear progression of pyramid design from simple mastabas to the Giza wonders, and the inscriptions on blocks that sometimes name the work gangs. Furthermore, experimental archaeology, where researchers attempt to replicate ancient methods using only the technology available to the Egyptians, has consistently demonstrated the feasibility of construction, even if the scale of the undertaking remains breathtaking. This is the story, as told by the stones and scribes, a testament to the incredible capabilities of a people deeply connected to their land, their gods, and their eternal legacy, a legacy that continues to inspire awe and wonder to this very day. The story of Atlantis, perhaps the most famous lost civilization, originates not from ancient myths or obscure prophecies, but from the writings of one of history's most renowned philosophers, Plato. In his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, written around 360 BCE, Plato describes Atlantis not as a mere fable, but as a powerful naval empire, a formidable adversary to ancient Athens. He recounts its tale through the character of Critias, who claims to have heard it from his grandfather, who in turn heard it from the Athenian statesman Solon, who was told it by Egyptian priests. This chain of transmission, while perhaps a literary device, lends a certain gravitas to the narrative, suggesting a deep ancient source. Plato paints a vivid picture of Atlantis. He describes a vast island continent situated beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which we now know as the Strait of Gibraltar. This island was said to be larger than Libya and Asia combined, implying a truly immense landmass. Its people, the Atlanteans, were initially virtuous and wise, possessing immense wealth derived from their fertile land and abundant natural resources, including a mysterious metal called orichalcum, said to glow with a fiery light. Their capital city was a marvel of engineering and aesthetics, built on concentric rings of land and water, connected by canals and bridges, adorned with magnificent temples, palaces, and docks. The city was a testament to their advanced understanding of architecture, hydraulics, and urban planning. Plato details their grand structures, their sophisticated infrastructure, and their impressive military might. The Atlanteans, according to Plato, were technologically superior to any known ancient civilization. Their engineers could control water flow, construct massive harbors, and build structures of incredible scale and beauty. They harnessed natural resources with unparalleled efficiency, and lived in a society that was both prosperous and highly organized. However, as generations passed, their divine nature became diluted, and they succumbed to greed, ambition, and moral decay. They began to conquer other nations, their empire expanding across the Mediterranean. This moral decline, Plato suggests, incurred the wrath of the gods, particularly Zeus. In a single dreadful day and night, a cataclysmic event, a series of violent earthquakes and floods engulfed Atlantis, sinking it beneath the waves, vanishing without a trace. This dramatic demise, a cautionary tale of hubris, has resonated through history, transforming Atlantis from a philosophical allegory into a persistent object of historical and archaeological quest. The enduring influence of Plato's account lies in its tantalizing blend of detail and mystery. For proponents of the Atlantean hypothesis, the scale and sophistication of the pyramids, particularly those at Giza, bear an uncanny resemblance to the descriptions of Atlantean architectural prowess. The sheer volume of stone, the precision of their cuts, and the apparent impossibility of their construction using conventionally understood ancient technologies all seem to align with the idea of a civilization far more advanced than the Old Kingdom Egyptians. If Atlanteans possessed the knowledge to build cities on concentric rings with intricate canal systems, then moving and shaping millions of tons of stone would have been well within their capabilities. But what kind of technology could a lost civilization like Atlantis have possessed to achieve such feats? The theories are as imaginative as they are compelling. Central to many Atlantean narratives is the concept of anti-gravity or levitation. How else, it is argued, could stones weighing 50, 80, or even hundreds of tons be lifted to such heights and placed with millimeter precision? One popular theory posits the use of sound levitation. This idea suggests that Atlanteans understood the resonant frequencies of matter. By generating specific, powerful sound waves at precise frequencies, they could have negated the gravitational pull on massive objects, causing them to float effortlessly. Imagine vast resonant chambers or devices emitting targeted sonic frequencies, allowing colossal blocks of granite to glide into place with minimal effort. This concept, while seemingly fantastical, draws parallels with modern acoustic levitation experiments on a micro scale, extrapolating the principle to a grand, ancient application. The Great Pyramid's internal shafts and passages, often dismissed as mere ventilation or symbolic routes, are reinterpreted in this light as conduits for sound waves, designed to resonate and amplify the very frequencies needed for levitation and construction. Another prominent theory involves crystal technology. In many esoteric traditions and fictional accounts, Atlanteans are depicted as masters of crystal energy. They are believed to have harnessed the power of immense crystals, perhaps quartz or other geological formations, to generate vast amounts of energy. This crystal energy could then be directed for various purposes, including power generation, communication, and crucially, levitation. Picture enormous, finely cut crystals, perhaps housed within the pyramids themselves or in nearby structures, focusing and amplifying cosmic or telluric energies. These focused energy beams or fields could then create localized anti-gravity effects, allowing the manipulation of massive stone blocks. The idea of crystal batteries or crystal power plants, transforming raw geological energy into usable force, is a recurring motif, offering a clean, powerful, and seemingly effortless method for construction that bypasses the limitations of human muscle and simple mechanics. Beyond levitation, the precision cutting and shaping of the pyramid stones also demand an explanation beyond copper chisels and dolerite balls. How were the incredibly fine joints between the casing stones achieved? How were granite blocks among the hardest stones on Earth cut with such surgical accuracy? Atlantean theorists propose advanced tools, perhaps derived from their mastery of energy. This could include laser-like cutting tools, utilizing focused light or crystal energy to slice through stone with ease, leaving perfectly smooth surfaces. Sonic drills, employing high-frequency vibrations to pulverize or erode rock, might also explain the intricate internal carvings and precise holes found in some ancient megalithic sites globally. Even more speculative theories suggest a form of molecular manipulation, where Atlanteans could temporarily alter the molecular structure of stone, making it pliable like clay, shaping it, and then restoring its original hardness. Such technology would render the challenges of quarrying, cutting, and shaping utterly trivial, explaining the seemingly impossible feats of ancient stonework. The very purpose of the pyramids, in the Atlantean hypothesis, transcends that of mere tombs. They are reinterpreted as complex energy generators or power plants. The Great Pyramid, in particular, with its intricate internal structure, specific chamber dimensions, and alignment to celestial bodies, is seen as a sophisticated machine. The air shafts leading from the king's and queen's chambers, rather than being for ventilation or stellar alignment for the pharaoh's soul, are re-envisioned as conduits for energy flow, designed to channel telluric currents from the earth or cosmic energy from above. The Grand Gallery, with its unique corbelled ceiling and resonant acoustics, is sometimes proposed as a resonant cavity, an amplification chamber for sound or electromagnetic energy. The King's Chamber, built of granite, a material with piezoelectric properties, is seen as the central generator vibrating at specific frequencies. The capstone, now lost, would have acted as an antenna or energy collector, drawing in and transmitting energy. This energy, it is theorized, could have powered the Atlantean civilization, provided wireless energy transmission, or even influenced global weather patterns. The pyramids, in this view, were not static monuments, but dynamic, functional components of a vast, ancient technological network. This leads us to the concept of a global connection, a network of megalithic sites across the world, that for some are not independent developments, but rather evidence of a single unified lost global culture. This is the diffusionist argument, suggesting that advanced knowledge and architectural styles spread from a central point, rather than arising spontaneously in multiple locations. Proponents point to striking similarities in construction techniques, astronomical alignments, and the sheer scale of stone manipulation found in diverse ancient sites. The precision-cut, polygonal stonework in Peru, like at Sacsayhuaman and Ollantaytambo, the massive, perfectly fitted blocks of Pumapunku in Bolivia, that appear almost machine-cut, the enigmatic structures of Teotihuacan in Mexico, the colossal stones of Baalbek in Lebanon, and even the mysterious statues of Easter Island. These sites, separated by vast oceans and thousands of years according to conventional timelines, share common themes: the use of impossibly heavy stones, often weighing hundreds of tons, intricate, interlocking stonework without mortar, precise astronomical alignments, and a mastery of engineering that seems to defy the known tools of their supposed builders. If Atlantis was the central hub or progenitor of this global network, then its survivors after the cataclysm could have spread across the globe, carrying their advanced knowledge and architectural skills to less developed regions. These culture bearers would have guided indigenous populations, perhaps even establishing the initial dynasties or priesthoods in places like Egypt, Mesoamerica, and South America. The Egyptian pharaohs and priests, in this interpretation, were merely custodians of a much older, inherited wisdom, preserving fragments of Atlantean science and spirituality within their own evolving culture. The pyramids, therefore, become a universal architectural language, a pyramid code understood by a global network of enlightened ancients. The cataclysm that destroyed Atlantis is often envisioned as a dramatic, world-altering event. While Plato speaks of earthquakes and floods, modern interpretations expand on this. It could have been a massive tsunami, a pole shift, a comet impact, or a series of volcanic eruptions. The key is that it was a global or near-global event that wiped out most of the Atlantean civilization, leaving only a scattered few survivors. These survivors, carrying their advanced knowledge, became the mythical teachers or gods who appeared in various cultures, kickstarting civilization in different parts of the world. They might have arrived in Egypt after the deluge, finding a nascent civilization and imparting their wisdom, guiding them in the construction of the pyramids as a means to preserve knowledge, harness planetary energies, or even as a memorial to their lost homeland. The idea is that the pyramids were built not by the Egyptians in isolation, but for or with the guidance of these Atlantean refugees, who saw in the Giza Plateau a perfect site to re-establish a fragment of their former glory, or to leave a message for future generations. This brings us to the inevitable conspiracy angle. Why isn't this theory accepted by mainstream academia? For proponents of the Atlantean hypothesis, the resistance from established institutions is not merely academic inertia, but a deliberate suppression of evidence. The argument goes that the scientific and historical establishment is unwilling to accept radical new paradigms that would overturn centuries of research, textbooks, and academic careers. The implications of a lost super-civilization, or one that predates known history by tens of thousands of years, are profound. It would force a complete re-evaluation of human technological progress, the origins of civilization, and our understanding of our own capabilities. Such a revelation could destabilize existing power structures, challenge religious dogma, and fundamentally alter humanity's self-perception. The control of history argument suggests that powerful groups, whether governments, secret societies, or even certain academic factions, actively suppress evidence that contradicts the accepted historical narrative. This could involve hiding artifacts, misinterpreting ancient texts, or discrediting researchers who venture into these controversial areas. The notion of lost knowledge is central here, that ancient texts or sites that explicitly support the Atlantean theory are either hidden in secret archives, locked away in private collections, or deliberately ignored by mainstream archaeology. The very idea that humanity once possessed, and then lost, such advanced technology challenges the linear view of progress, suggesting a cyclical nature to civilization. With rises and falls that are deliberately obscured, the pyramids, in this light, become not just architectural wonders, but veiled messages from a forgotten past, their true origins concealed to maintain a carefully constructed version of human history. In essence, the Atlantean hypothesis offers a grand, sweeping narrative that connects ancient mysteries across the globe. It posits that the pyramids were not merely tombs, but functional devices, repositories of lost wisdom, or even monuments to a forgotten golden age. It explains the anomalies of precision, scale, and material handling by attributing them to a technology far beyond what we commonly associate with the Bronze Age. It suggests that our history is far richer, more complex, and more mysterious than we currently acknowledge, with the possibility of a profound legacy from a civilization that vanished beneath the waves, leaving only its monumental echoes behind. While highly speculative and lacking direct, irrefutable archaeological proof in the conventional sense, the Atlantean hypothesis remains a powerful and enduring narrative. It appeals to a deep human fascination with lost worlds and forgotten wisdom, offering a compelling alternative to the challenges posed by the pyramids. It addresses the how and the who, with a bold vision of ancient technological mastery. But Atlantis is just one of many alternative explanations for the pyramids' enigmatic origins. Our next chapter will explore another equally captivating theory, one that looks not to a sunken continent, but to the vast star-studded expanse above us, suggesting that the builders of these colossal structures might have come from beyond our world. While the conventional narrative provides a compelling and well-researched account of how the ancient Egyptians could have built the pyramids, there remain certain aspects, certain details, that continue to puzzle even the most dedicated archaeologists and engineers. These are the anomalies, the outliers, the subtle cracks in the consensus that for some suggest a story more complex, perhaps even more extraordinary, than the one we typically hear. It is in these unexplained facets that alternative theories often find their footing, pushing the boundaries of what we believe was possible in the distant past. One of the most frequently cited and genuinely perplexing aspects of the Giza pyramids, particularly the Great Pyramid of Khufu, is the astounding precision of its engineering. The base of Khufu's pyramid is nearly perfectly level, varying by only a few centimeters across its massive 230-meter, 756-foot length. This levelness is remarkable, especially when considering the uneven desert terrain upon which it was built. Furthermore, the pyramid is aligned with an astonishing degree of accuracy to true north, deviating by less than 1/10 of a degree. Such precision achieved without modern surveying equipment raises questions about the methods and instruments available to the ancient Egyptians. How did they establish such a perfect baseline? How did they maintain such consistent alignment over decades of construction, especially as the structure grew higher and higher? Critics of the conventional view argue that while simple tools like plumb bobs and sighting lines could achieve a degree of accuracy, this level of near perfection points to a more sophisticated understanding of geodesy or astronomy than is typically attributed to the Old Kingdom. Beyond the overall alignment, the internal construction also presents baffling examples of precision. The joints between the massive casing stones, which once covered the entire exterior of the pyramids, were incredibly fine, often less than a millimeter thick. It is said that a razor blade could not be inserted between them. This level of fit, achieved with irregularly shaped stones weighing many tons, suggests an almost surgical precision in their cutting and placement. How were these colossal blocks dressed and smoothed to such exacting tolerances? And how were they then moved into place with such delicate accuracy, especially when considering the immense friction involved? The sheer scale of the operation, combined with this micro-level precision, seems to defy the simple tools and techniques often proposed. Then there is the sheer weight of some of the individual blocks. While the average stone in the Great Pyramid weighs around 2.5 tons, there are numerous blocks, particularly in the King's Chamber and the relieving chambers above it, that are made of granite and weigh significantly more. The massive granite beams forming the ceiling of the King's Chamber, for example, weigh between 50 and 80 tons each. These blocks were transported hundreds of miles from Aswan and then lifted to a height of over 60 meters, 200 feet within the pyramid's core. The logistical challenge of moving and lifting such immense weights with only human labor, wooden sledges, and ramps, without the use of wheels or complex pulley systems, is truly staggering. Even with the most optimistic calculations of manpower and efficiency, the effort required seems almost superhuman. How were these incredibly heavy stones maneuvered into such tight spaces within the internal structure, often with very little clearance? The conventional explanation details the use of ramps and levers, but the scale of the granite blocks, their density, and their placement still present a formidable puzzle that pushes the limits of our understanding of ancient capabilities. Another mysterious element lies in the mortar used in the pyramids. While the core blocks were laid dry or with minimal mortar, the casing stones and some internal sections utilized a remarkably strong and durable mortar. This mortar, often referred to as geopolymer concrete by some alternative theorists, has a chemical composition that differs from natural limestone and is incredibly resistant to degradation. It is not simply mud or gypsum. Its precise formula and manufacturing process remain a subject of debate. Some argue it was a sophisticated form of lime-based mortar, perhaps with unique additives, while others suggest it was a form of early concrete, implying a chemical knowledge far more advanced than typically assumed for the period. The ability to produce such a consistent and high-quality binding agent in vast quantities under the conditions of the Old Kingdom adds another layer of complexity to the construction narrative. The internal passageways and chambers of the Great Pyramid also present intriguing questions. Beyond the King's and Queen's chambers, there are shafts, the Grand Gallery, and various enigmatic spaces whose precise function is still debated. The so-called air shafts leading from the King's and Queen's chambers, for instance, were long thought to be for ventilation, but their narrow, winding, and sometimes blocked nature, along with their alignment to specific stars, has led to speculation about astronomical, symbolic, or even energetic purposes. The Grand Gallery, a towering corbelled passageway, is a masterpiece of internal engineering, but its true purpose beyond being a grand approach to the King's Chamber remains a subject of academic discussion. Some alternative theories propose that these internal structures served functions far beyond mere burial, perhaps as part of a larger machine or a system for channeling unknown energies. Finally, the Sphinx, the enigmatic guardian of the Giza Plateau, poses its own set of chronological and geological puzzles. Traditionally attributed to Pharaoh Khafre, the builder of the Second Pyramid, its age has been challenged by some researchers. Geologist Robert Schoch, for instance, has argued that the extensive erosion patterns on the Sphinx and its enclosure walls are consistent with prolonged exposure to heavy rainfall, not wind and sand. Egypt has not experienced significant rainfall for thousands of years, leading Schoch and others to suggest that the Sphinx must predate the accepted Old Kingdom period, potentially by thousands of years, placing its construction in a much earlier, wetter epoch. If the Sphinx is indeed much older than the pyramids, it fundamentally alters the timeline of the Giza complex and raises profound questions about who could have built such a massive monument in a period for which we have little other evidence of advanced civilization. This geological anomaly, combined with the other architectural and engineering mysteries, forms a collective body of evidence that for some points to a story yet untold, a narrative that transcends the conventional understanding of ancient Egypt. The Ancient Astronaut Hypothesis, or AAH, gained significant popular traction in the mid-20th century, largely propelled by the works of authors like Erich von Däniken and Zacharias Sitchin. Erich von Däniken, a Swiss author, became a global phenomenon with his 1968 book Chariots of the Gods: Unsolved Mysteries of the Past. His central premise was disarmingly simple. If ancient civilizations possessed knowledge and built structures that seem impossible for their time, perhaps they received help from visitors from other planets. Von Däniken meticulously scoured ancient texts, religious scriptures, archaeological sites, and artifacts from around the world, reinterpreting them through an extraterrestrial lens. He argued that the gods depicted in various mythologies were not supernatural beings, but rather flesh and blood aliens whose advanced technology was perceived as divine by primitive humans. He pointed to unexplained artifacts, megalithic constructions, and what he perceived as technological anomalies in the archaeological record as evidence of this extraterrestrial intervention. The pyramids, with their precision and scale, fit perfectly into this framework. Zacharias Sitchin, another influential proponent, offered a more specific and detailed narrative. A Russian-American author, Sitchin focused heavily on the ancient Sumerian texts, particularly those describing the Anunnaki. He translated and interpreted these cuneiform tablets, arguing that the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings from a hypothetical 12th planet in our solar system, which he called Nibiru. According to Sitchin's interpretation, these Anunnaki arrived on Earth tens of thousands of years ago, initially to mine for gold, a resource crucial for their planet's atmosphere. He contended that they genetically engineered early humans by combining their own DNA with that of Homo erectus, creating Homo sapiens to serve as a slave race for their mining operations. These gods, the Anunnaki, were thus directly responsible for kickstarting human civilization, imparting knowledge of agriculture, writing, astronomy, and crucially, monumental construction. In Sitchin's view, the pyramids were either built directly by the Anunnaki or constructed under their direct supervision, utilizing their superior technology and knowledge to facilitate the rapid advancement of their human workforce. The pyramids, therefore, become a tangible link to our cosmic creators. But what kind of technology would these extraterrestrial visitors have employed to construct structures like the pyramids, far exceeding the capabilities of ancient human tools? The theories are vast and often intersect with those proposed for Atlantis, but with an alien origin. Central to the AH is the idea of advanced tools provided by or operated by the extraterrestrials. Imagine energy beams capable of cutting through the hardest granite with surgical precision, leaving perfectly smooth surfaces and intricate angles that defy conventional quarrying methods. These could be laser-like devices, focused plasma cutters, or even tools that manipulate molecular bonds within the stone, allowing it to be shaped like clay before solidifying. The fine joints between the casing stones, the precise internal passages, and the perfectly drilled holes found in some ancient artifacts are all cited as evidence of such non-human cutting technology. Beyond cutting, the challenge of lifting and placing millions of tons of stone remains paramount. Here, the concept of anti-gravity, or levitation, previously discussed in the Atlantean context, takes on an extraterrestrial dimension. Proponents suggest that alien spacecraft themselves, or specialized levitation devices carried by the visitors, were used to effortlessly transport and position the colossal blocks. Picture massive alien ships hovering over the Giza Plateau, their undersides emitting unseen energy fields that gently lift granite blocks from quarries hundreds of miles away and guide them into place with pinpoint accuracy. Or perhaps the aliens provided ancient humans with smaller, handheld anti-gravity devices, allowing a few individuals to move stones that would otherwise require thousands. The idea is that the sheer weight of the stones, which poses such a significant problem for conventional explanations, becomes a non-issue with the introduction of extraterrestrial physics. Furthermore, it's not always suggested that the aliens did all the heavy lifting themselves. A more subtle, yet equally profound form of intervention involves construction guidance and supervision. The extraterrestrials in this scenario acted as master architects and engineers, providing the blueprints, the advanced mathematical and astronomical knowledge, and the organizational principles necessary for such grand projects. They might have taught ancient Egyptians advanced surveying techniques, methods for calculating precise angles and alignments, or even secret ways to manipulate the properties of stone. The pharaohs and their priests, in this view, were merely intermediaries, receiving instructions and knowledge from their gods, and then directing the human workforce. This explains the sudden leap in architectural sophistication seen from the Step Pyramid to the Giza pyramids, suggesting an external catalyst for this rapid development. The pyramids, therefore, become a collaborative effort between humans and their cosmic mentors, a testament to shared knowledge rather than purely indigenous genius. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of the ancient astronaut hypothesis for its adherents lies in the reinterpretation of ancient texts and art. Across cultures and continents, proponents find what they believe are explicit depictions or descriptions of extraterrestrial beings and their technology. In Egypt, certain hieroglyphics and murals are frequently cited. The Dendera light, a carving in the Hathor temple at Dendera, is interpreted by some as depicting a giant light bulb or a Crookes tube, suggesting advanced electrical knowledge. The famous Abydos helicopter hieroglyph, an anomalous carving in the temple of Seti I at Abydos, is seen by some as clearly showing modern vehicles like a helicopter, a submarine, and a jet plane, implying either time travel or extraterrestrial presence. While mainstream Egyptologists explain these as palimpsests, older carvings overwritten by newer ones, creating accidental composite images or misinterpretations of symbolic art. AAH proponents insist on their literal meaning, arguing they are direct observations recorded by ancient artists. Beyond Egypt, similar reinterpretations abound. The Nazca lines in Peru, massive geoglyphs etched into the desert floor, are viewed as landing strips or navigational markers for alien spacecraft, visible only from the air. The Piri Reis map, an Ottoman-era map from 1513, which appears to depict parts of Antarctica's coastline before it was supposedly discovered and without its ice cap, is cited as evidence of ancient, perhaps extraterrestrial, knowledge of Earth's geography. Even religious texts are not immune to this reinterpretation. The biblical account of Ezekiel's vision describing a wheel within a wheel and a fiery chariot descending from the sky is seen by some as a direct eyewitness account of a spacecraft. The Nephilim mentioned in Genesis, often translated as giants, are reinterpreted as the offspring of sons of God, aliens, and human women, serving as a direct link between humanity and its extraterrestrial progenitors. Similarly, Sumerian myths detailing sky gods descending to Earth in fire-breathing chariots are taken as literal descriptions of alien landings. These narratives suggest that ancient peoples, lacking the vocabulary to describe advanced technology, simply attributed these phenomena to divine intervention, creating the myths and religions we study today. The purpose of the pyramids, within the RAH framework, transcends their traditional role as tombs. They are re-envisioned as functional components of an extraterrestrial agenda or infrastructure. One prominent theory suggests the pyramids were designed as landing beacons or navigational markers for alien spacecraft. Their precise alignment to cardinal points, their immense visibility, and their connection to specific constellations, like Orion, as proposed by the Orion correlation theory, could have served as a cosmic guide for incoming ships. Perhaps their internal structures or capstones emitted signals or energy pulses, acting as interstellar lighthouses. Another theory posits the pyramids as power stations or energy generators. Similar to the Atlantean concept, but with an alien origin, the extraterrestrials might have provided the technology to harness Earth's natural energy grid, or telluric currents, for their own purposes, or to power early human development. The Great Pyramid, with its granite king's chamber, granite being piezoelectric, and various shafts, is seen as a giant machine designed to resonate, amplify, and transmit energy. This energy could have powered their ships, provided wireless energy transmission to nascent human cities, or even influenced global weather patterns or geological stability. The very construction materials and internal geometry are meticulously analyzed for their potential to conduct, amplify, or focus energy, suggesting a purpose far more complex than a mere burial monument. Some proponents even suggest the pyramids served as sophisticated communication devices. Their specific dimensions, proportions, and alignments might encode mathematical or astronomical messages, or perhaps they were designed as giant antennae or transceivers for interstellar communication. The idea is that the pyramids are not just structures, but complex messages or tools left behind by our cosmic visitors, waiting for humanity to reach a level of understanding sufficient to decipher their true purpose. A more profound and controversial aspect of the AAH relates to genetic experimentation and human development. If extraterrestrials visited Earth, some theories suggest they were not merely observers or architects, but active participants in our evolution. They might have accelerated human development through genetic manipulation, creating Homo sapiens with enhanced intelligence and capabilities. In this view, the pyramids could be seen as a grand project within this larger scheme, a testament to the potential of their engineered creations, or even a facility related to their ongoing experiments. The sudden leap in human cognitive abilities and the rapid emergence of complex civilizations after the last ice age are sometimes attributed to this external intervention, rather than purely indigenous development. The pyramids, then, become a monument to our alien origins, a silent reminder of the cosmic hand that guided our early steps. The AAH also draws strength from its ability to connect disparate megalithic sites across the globe, much like the Atlantean hypothesis. The precision stonework of Puma Punku in Bolivia, the enigmatic Nazca lines in Peru, the astronomical alignments of Stonehenge in England, the colossal stones of Baalbek in Lebanon, and the intricate underground cities of Cappadocia in Turkey are all cited as further evidence of a global extraterrestrial presence and influence. The argument is that these sites, separated by vast oceans and thousands of years according to conventional timelines, share common themes that defy independent invention: the manipulation of impossibly heavy stones, advanced cutting techniques, and astronomical knowledge. This suggests a common source of knowledge, a shared blueprint, or direct intervention from beings who could traverse the globe with ease. Different alien races might have visited different regions, or a single, highly advanced race influenced multiple cultures, leaving their signature in monumental architecture that transcends local capabilities. This brings us to the inevitable conspiracy angle. Why isn't the ancient astronaut hypothesis accepted by mainstream academia and governments? For proponents, the resistance is not merely academic skepticism, but a deliberate and systematic suppression of the truth. The argument goes that the scientific establishment, deeply invested in its existing paradigms and theories of linear human evolution, is unwilling to accept radical new evidence that would overturn centuries of research, textbooks, and academic careers. The implications of proven alien contact are profound and far-reaching. Such a revelation could trigger widespread societal panic, challenge the foundations of major religions, and fundamentally alter humanity's perception of its own uniqueness and place in the cosmos. The control of information argument suggests that powerful groups, whether governments, military intelligence agencies, or even certain academic factions, actively suppress evidence of extraterrestrial contact. This could involve hiding artifacts in secret vaults, misinterpreting ancient texts to fit conventional narratives, or discrediting researchers who dare to venture into these controversial areas. The notion of disclosure is central here. The idea that governments possess irrefutable evidence of alien visitation, but choose to conceal it from the public for fear of chaos, or to maintain control over advanced alien technology. The pyramids, in this light, become not just architectural wonders, but veiled messages from a cosmic past, their true origins concealed to maintain a carefully constructed version of human history that keeps humanity in the dark about its true heritage. The very idea that our history is a lie, a carefully curated narrative designed to control public perception, is a powerful motivator for those who embrace the AH. In essence, the ancient astronaut hypothesis offers a grand, sweeping narrative that connects ancient mysteries across the globe, providing a cosmic solution to the perplexing questions surrounding the pyramids. It posits that these structures were not merely tombs, but functional devices, repositories of alien knowledge, or even monuments to a shared history between humanity and its cosmic visitors. It explains the anomalies of precision, scale, and material handling by attributing them to a technology far beyond what we commonly associate with the Bronze Age, a technology gifted or demonstrated by extraterrestrial beings. It suggests that our history is far richer, more complex, and more mysterious than we currently acknowledge, with the possibility of a profound legacy from visitors who came from beyond our world, leaving their indelible mark on the sands of time. While highly speculative and often criticized for its reliance on reinterpretation rather than direct archaeological proof, the ancient astronaut hypothesis remains a powerful and enduring narrative. It appeals to a deep human fascination with the unknown, with our place in the universe, and with the tantalizing possibility that we are not alone. It offers a compelling alternative to the challenges posed by the pyramids, addressing the how and the who with a bold vision of ancient extraterrestrial intervention. But the cosmos is not the only source of alternative builders. Our next chapter will explore another equally captivating theory, one that looks not to advanced aliens, but to beings closer to Earth, yet still beyond our conventional understanding: giants and pre-Diluvian builders. The idea of giants inhabiting the Earth in ancient times is not unique to one culture or one text. It is a recurring motif found in the oral traditions, folklore, and written records of diverse civilizations worldwide. From the Titans of Greek mythology to the Jotun of Norse sagas, the Rakshasas of Hindu epics, and the various giant races mentioned in Native American legends, the concept of colossal beings predating or coexisting with humanity is remarkably widespread. These narratives often describe them as possessing superhuman strength, capable of moving mountains, or indeed building structures of unimaginable scale. For those who question the conventional explanation of pyramid construction, these ancient accounts offer a compelling alternative. Perhaps the builders were simply, literally, bigger. Central to this theory, particularly in Western esoteric and religious traditions, is the concept of the Nephilim. The most direct reference to the Nephilim comes from the Hebrew Bible, specifically Genesis 6:4, which states, "There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown." This brief, enigmatic verse has sparked centuries of theological and speculative debate. Who were these sons of God? Who were the daughters of men? And what exactly were these giants, or Nephilim? Interpretations of sons of God vary widely. Some theological views suggest they were descendants of Seth, a righteous lineage that intermarried with the corrupt lineage of Cain. However, a more literal, and for our purposes, more relevant interpretation, especially within the context of alternative history, identifies them as fallen angels or divine beings who descended to earth. This interpretation is supported by extra-biblical texts like the Book of Enoch, a significant ancient Jewish religious work that was not included in the biblical canon, but was highly influential in early Christian thought. The Book of Enoch elaborates significantly on the Genesis account. It describes a group of 200 watchers, a class of angels, who descended to Mount Hermon in the days of Jared. They lusted after human women, took them as wives, and taught humanity forbidden knowledge, including metallurgy, cosmetics, astrology, and warfare. Their offspring were the Nephilim, described as great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, a measurement that would make them impossibly tall, though this is often seen as hyperbole for immense size. These Nephilim are depicted as ravenous, consuming all of humanity's provisions, and eventually turning upon humanity itself. Their violence and corruption, along with the forbidden knowledge imparted by the Watchers, are presented as the primary reasons for God's decision to send the Great Flood to cleanse the earth. For proponents of the giant Nephilim theory of pyramid construction, these accounts are not mere myths or allegories but historical records. They argue that the Nephilim, being of immense stature and possessing superhuman strength, would have found the task of quarrying, moving, and lifting multi-ton blocks of stone to be far less challenging than it was for average-sized humans. Imagine beings perhaps 10 to 20 feet tall, or even larger, with proportionate musculature. What would be an insurmountable task for 1,000 ordinary men might be a manageable feat for a few dozen giants. The sheer scale of the stones in the pyramids, the precision of their placement, and the speed at which such structures would have had to be erected, given the estimated timelines, all become more plausible if the builders were not limited by human physical constraints. Furthermore, the forbidden knowledge imparted by the Watchers is often interpreted as advanced technology or scientific understanding. This could include knowledge of anti-gravity, advanced cutting tools, or even methods of manipulating the very molecular structure of stone, similar to the Atlantean theories. The Nephilim, as the hybrid offspring, would have inherited some of this divine or advanced knowledge, combining it with their physical prowess to become the ultimate ancient engineers. The pyramids, therefore, become a direct testament to the capabilities of these hybrid beings, perhaps built as monuments to their power, their knowledge, or even as part of a larger plan orchestrated by their angelic fathers. This theory also ties into the concept of a pre-Diluvian civilization. The Great Flood, as described in Genesis and countless other global flood myths, is a pivotal event in this narrative. If a global cataclysm indeed occurred, it would have wiped out most of humanity and any advanced civilizations that existed before it. The pyramids, in this view, are not post-flood constructions by nascent human societies, but rather remnants of a highly advanced pre-flood world. The idea is that before the deluge, humanity, or the Nephilim, or a combination thereof, had achieved a level of technological and architectural sophistication that was largely lost in the catastrophe. The pyramids, due to their robust construction and immense scale, were among the few structures resilient enough to survive the cataclysm. They stand as silent witnesses to a forgotten era, a time when civilization reached heights that we are only now beginning to rediscover. The precision, the astronomical alignments, and the sheer engineering prowess seen in the pyramids are thus explained as inherited knowledge from this advanced pre-flood era, rather than indigenous development by Old Kingdom Egyptians. The global prevalence of flood myths lends credence to this idea for its proponents. From the Epic of Gilgamesh in Mesopotamia to the Deucalion myth in Greece, the Manu myth in India, and numerous flood stories among indigenous peoples in the Americas, Africa, and Australia, the narrative of a great flood that cleansed the earth is remarkably consistent. While mainstream science attributes these to regional floods or cultural diffusion, proponents of the pre-Diluvian theory see them as collective memory of a single devastating global event. If such an event occurred, then any highly advanced civilization existing before it would have been largely erased, leaving behind only the most durable structures as enigmatic clues. In this context, the pyramids become antediluvian artifacts, built by a civilization that existed before the flood. Their purpose might have been to serve as refuges from the coming cataclysm, or perhaps as repositories of knowledge, designed to withstand the deluge and transmit vital information to future generations. The internal chambers and passages, often sealed and seemingly inaccessible, are reinterpreted as vaults containing ancient wisdom, technological blueprints, or historical records from a lost era. The very materials and construction methods chosen for their resilience speak to a foresight that anticipated a global disaster. The conspiracy angle for the giant Nephilim and pre-Diluvian theories often centers on the suppression of evidence by both religious and scientific institutions. For some, mainstream archaeology and anthropology are unwilling to acknowledge the existence of giants or a pre-flood advanced civilization because it directly contradicts the established timelines of human evolution and the development of technology. The discovery of giant skeletons or artifacts that predate known civilizations by tens of thousands of years would fundamentally challenge the linear progression of history taught in schools and universities. Religious institutions, particularly those with a literal interpretation of biblical texts, might also be accused of suppressing evidence. While the Bible mentions Nephilim, a literal interpretation of their physical capabilities and technological influence might be seen as too radical, or as undermining the traditional understanding of human agency and divine intervention. The idea that angels directly fathered a race of giants who built monumental structures could be considered heretical or too close to ancient pagan mythologies. Therefore, any archaeological finds that hint at giant humanoids or impossibly ancient advanced technology are either dismissed, reinterpreted, or, in the more extreme claims, actively hidden away from public scrutiny. The narrative of forbidden archaeology is strong here. Proponents claim that numerous giant skeletons have been found throughout history, only to be quietly removed, confiscated, or simply ignored by mainstream science. They point to historical accounts, newspaper clippings from the 19th and early 20th centuries, and anecdotal evidence of massive human bones unearthed during construction projects or archaeological digs. The argument is that these discoveries are systematically suppressed to maintain the current paradigm of human history, which does not account for such beings. The pyramids, therefore, stand as the most prominent, undeniable evidence of these ancient builders, too large and too numerous to be completely hidden, but whose true origins are deliberately obscured. Furthermore, the very concept of pre-Diluvian knowledge implies a cyclical view of history, where civilizations rise, achieve great technological and spiritual heights, and then fall, often due to a cataclysm or moral decay. This contrasts with the dominant linear view of human progress. Acknowledging a highly advanced pre-flood civilization would mean admitting that humanity has lost knowledge, that our current scientific and technological achievements are not necessarily the peak of all human endeavor, and that we might be rediscovering what was once common knowledge. This challenges the intellectual pride of modern science and could be seen as a threat to established narratives of progress. The implications of these theories are profound. If giants or Nephilim built the pyramids, it would revolutionize our understanding of human or humanoid history, biology, and capabilities. It would force a re-evaluation of ancient myths and religious texts, shifting them from mere allegory to potential historical accounts. If a pre-Diluvian civilization was responsible, it would mean rewriting the timeline of human technological development, acknowledging a forgotten golden age that ended in catastrophe. It would also lend significant weight to the global flood narratives, suggesting a common, ancient memory of a world-altering event. In this framework, the pyramids are not just architectural wonders, but direct physical evidence of a forgotten race or a lost era. They are a tangible link to beings of immense power and knowledge who shaped the very landscape of our planet. They are a testament to a history far grander and more mysterious than we currently allow ourselves to imagine. A history where the lines between myth, religion, and science blur into an intriguing tapestry of possibilities. The colossal stones of Giza, in this light, are not merely the product of human ingenuity, but the enduring legacy of a time when giants walked the earth, or when humanity itself reached a pinnacle of achievement that was tragically swept away by the waters of a global deluge. While these theories often reside on the fringes of mainstream academia, their persistence and the compelling nature of the questions they raise ensure their continued discussion. They offer a powerful narrative that attempts to reconcile the seemingly impossible feats of ancient engineering with the ancient accounts of superhuman beings and global catastrophes. The pyramids, in this context, become a beacon from a lost world, a monument to the forgotten builders who shaped our planet in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. Our next chapter will explore yet another fascinating theory, one that focuses not on the builders themselves, but on the very location and design of the pyramids, suggesting a connection to Earth's hidden energies and cosmic alignments. This perspective shifts the focus from who built the pyramids to why they were built in such specific locations and with such precise geometries. It suggests that ancient builders possessed a profound esoteric knowledge of geomancy, the art of placing structures in harmony with the Earth's energetic currents, a knowledge that has largely been lost or deliberately obscured in modern times. The concept of ley lines is central to this hypothesis. Coined in 1921 by amateur archaeologist Alfred Watkins, ley lines are theorized alignments of ancient sites, such as megaliths, mounds, churches, and indeed pyramids, across the landscape. Watkins observed that many prehistoric sites in Britain seem to fall along straight lines, suggesting a deliberate and systematic placement by ancient peoples. He believed these lines represented ancient trackways or trade routes, but the idea quickly evolved to encompass something far more mysterious: invisible lines of telluric energy, or earth energy. Proponents of ley lines argue that these alignments are not random chance, but indicate a sophisticated understanding of subtle earth energies by ancient cultures. They believe that certain geographical points, often marked by sacred sites, are nodal points, where these energy lines intersect or where energy accumulates. These points are thought to be particularly potent, conducive to spiritual practices, healing, or even technological applications. The pyramids, in this view, are not merely aligned to stars, but also to these unseen terrestrial power grids. The idea of a global Earth grid takes the concept of ley lines to a planetary scale. This theory suggests that the Earth is crisscrossed by a vast, invisible network of energetic lines, much like lines of latitude and longitude, but representing flows of subtle energy. These lines form a geometric pattern, often described as an icosahedron or dodecahedron, or a combination of platonic solids overlaid on the Earth's surface. Key ancient sites including the Giza pyramids, Stonehenge, Easter Island, Machu Picchu, and numerous others are believed to be strategically located at the vertices or intersections of this global grid. For adherents of this theory, the placement of the Giza pyramids is no accident. They are situated at a critical nexus point within this global energy matrix, a location chosen not for its proximity to a river or quarries, but for its energetic properties. The Great Pyramid, in particular, is seen as a primary node designed to tap into, regulate, or amplify the Earth's natural energetic pulsations. Its precise geographical coordinates, its alignment to true north, and its relationship to other global sites are all considered evidence of its integral role within this planetary energy system. This leads directly to the pyramid power phenomenon, a concept that gained popularity in the 1970s. This theory suggests that the very shape of the pyramid, particularly one constructed with the precise angles and proportions of the Great Pyramid of Giza, acts as a resonator or accumulator of energy. Experiments, often anecdotal and not scientifically validated, claimed that objects placed inside a pyramid model would exhibit unusual properties. Food would dehydrate without spoiling, dull razor blades would sharpen, plants would grow more vigorously, and water would become purified. While mainstream science largely dismisses these claims as pseudoscience or placebo effects, proponents argue that the pyramid shape creates a unique energetic field, a vortex of subtle energy that influences matter and consciousness. If the small-scale models exhibit such properties, the argument goes, then the colossal pyramids of Giza, built to precise specifications and on an immense scale, must be capable of generating or channeling truly vast amounts of energy. This energy is not necessarily electricity in the modern sense, but a more subtle, perhaps scalar or zero-point energy, or a form of life force energy. But what would be the source of this energy, and how would the pyramids harness it? One theory points to telluric currents. The Earth itself generates electromagnetic currents, often flowing along geological fault lines or subterranean water sources. Proponents suggest that the pyramids were designed to act as giant antennae or transducers, drawing in these telluric energies. The materials used in construction, such as granite, which has piezoelectric properties, meaning it can generate an electric charge when subjected to mechanical stress, are seen as crucial components in this energy harvesting system. The Great Pyramid's Granite King's Chamber, for instance, is often cited as a central generating unit, vibrating and resonating with the Earth's natural frequencies. Another aspect of the energy hypothesis involves acoustic resonance. Some theorists propose that the ancient builders possessed an advanced understanding of sound frequencies and their ability to manipulate matter. They suggest that specific tones or vibrations could have been used not only to levitate and move the massive stones, as discussed in the Atlantean chapter, but also to energize the structure itself. The internal passages and chambers of the Great Pyramid, with their unique dimensions and materials, are believed to have been designed as resonant cavities, amplifying certain frequencies. The Grand Gallery, with its corbelled ceiling and highly polished walls, is seen as a massive waveguide, capable of channeling sound or electromagnetic energy to the king's chamber. The very act of construction, involving the precise placement of stones, might have been a process of tuning the pyramid to resonate with specific planetary frequencies. The purpose of this harnessed energy is a subject of much speculation. It could have been used for a variety of advanced applications. One idea is that the pyramids served as ancient power plants, providing wireless energy to a lost civilization. Imagine a world where energy was freely available, transmitted through the atmosphere, powering homes, tools, and even transportation without the need for wires or fossil fuels. This would explain the lack of extensive archaeological evidence for complex power infrastructure in ancient Egypt, as the energy source was the pyramid itself. Beyond practical applications, the energy could have been used for communication. The pyramids might have functioned as giant transceivers, capable of sending and receiving messages across vast distances, perhaps even interstellar communication. Their precise alignments to celestial bodies, like the Orion constellation, could have facilitated communication with extraterrestrial intelligences, or served as beacons for incoming ships. The air shafts in the Great Pyramid, which point to specific stars, are reinterpreted not as ventilation, but as conduits for focused energy beams designed for cosmic communication. A more esoteric interpretation suggests the pyramids were designed for spiritual or consciousness-altering purposes. The concentrated energy within the pyramid could have been used to enhance meditation, facilitate out-of-body experiences, or even accelerate spiritual enlightenment. The king's chamber, often described as having a unique energetic feel, might have been a sacred space designed to elevate human consciousness and connect individuals with higher realms of existence. The pharaohs, in this view, were not just kings, but initiates who understood and utilized these energetic properties for their own spiritual ascent and to maintain the cosmic order. The concept of water channels and underground structures also plays a significant role in the energy hypothesis. While mainstream archaeology acknowledges the presence of a water table beneath the Giza Plateau and some subterranean passages, alternative theories propose a far more extensive and deliberate system. It is suggested that a network of underground rivers, aquifers, or specially constructed water channels flows beneath the pyramids, acting as a crucial component in their energy generation. The movement of water, or its interaction with specific geological formations, could generate piezoelectric effects or other forms of energy that the pyramids then tap into. Some even speculate about hidden chambers or vast underground complexes beneath the Giza Plateau, designed to house advanced machinery or to serve as part of a larger concealed energy system. The enigmatic well in the Great Pyramid, leading down to a water-filled chamber, is sometimes seen as evidence of this subterranean connection to Earth's internal energies. The conspiracy angle surrounding Earth grids and energy theories often revolves around the suppression of free energy or zero-point energy technology. Proponents argue that the knowledge of how to harness these natural planetary energies was deliberately suppressed by powerful entities, whether ancient secret societies, modern governments, or corporations, to maintain control over energy resources and prevent humanity from accessing limitless, clean power. If the pyramids were indeed ancient power plants, their true function would represent a technological breakthrough that would render current energy industries obsolete, thus providing a strong motive for suppression. The idea is that this ancient knowledge, once widespread, was systematically eradicated or hidden after a global cataclysm or a shift in human consciousness. Secret societies, like the Freemasons, Rosicrucians, or various ancient mystery schools, are often implicated as the custodians of this hidden wisdom, preserving fragments of the Earth grid knowledge through symbols, rituals, and architectural designs. The very design of modern cities, monuments, and even government buildings is sometimes seen as incorporating subtle elements of this ancient geomantic knowledge, known only to a select few. Furthermore, mainstream science is often accused of dismissing these theories out of hand, labeling them as pseudoscience without proper investigation. This dismissal, it is argued, is not based on a lack of evidence, but on a rigid adherence to established paradigms and a fear of challenging the conventional understanding of physics and history. The reluctance to explore the energetic properties of ancient sites, or to acknowledge the possibility of a global energy grid, is seen as a deliberate act of intellectual suppression, preventing humanity from rediscovering its true potential and a lost connection to the Earth. The implications of the Earth grid and energy hypothesis are profound. If proven true, it would fundamentally alter our understanding of ancient civilizations, revealing them as far more sophisticated in their grasp of physics and planetary dynamics than currently believed. It would suggest a harmonious relationship between humanity and the Earth, where structures were built not just for utility or worship, but to interact with the very life force of the planet. It would open up possibilities for clean, sustainable energy sources, revolutionizing modern technology. Moreover, it would lend credence to the idea that ancient sites worldwide, from megalithic stone circles to temples and pyramids, are interconnected, forming a global network of power points or communication hubs. This would paint a picture of a unified ancient world, guided by a shared esoteric knowledge, rather than disparate cultures developing independently. The pyramids in this light become not just monuments but living machines, humming with the subtle energies of the Earth, waiting for us to rediscover their true purpose and unlock their secrets. They are a testament to a lost science, a forgotten wisdom that understood the planet as a living, energetic entity and built accordingly. While these theories often lack the empirical evidence demanded by conventional science, their intuitive appeal and their ability to explain some of the more perplexing anomalies of pyramid construction ensure their enduring fascination. They offer a compelling narrative that connects ancient structures to universal energies, suggesting a deeper, more profound purpose for these colossal monuments. Our final chapter will synthesize these various alternative theories, reflecting on their collective implications and the enduring mystery that the pyramids continue to represent, regardless of who ultimately built them. Our journey through the enigmatic world of the pyramids has taken us far beyond the conventional textbooks. We began with the widely accepted narrative of ancient Egyptian ingenuity, a story of human will and remarkable organization. Then, we delved into the perplexing anomalies, the subtle cracks in that consensus, which hint at something more. We explored the captivating possibility of a lost Atlantean civilization, a highly advanced culture whose remnants might be scattered across the globe. We then ventured into the cosmos, considering the audacious ancient astronaut hypothesis, where extraterrestrial beings influenced early human development and perhaps directly aided in the construction of these colossal structures. Finally, we examined the ancient accounts of giants and pre-Diluvian builders, suggesting a forgotten race or an advanced civilization swept away by a global cataclysm. The most immediate and dramatic consequence would be the complete rewriting of history. Our current historical timelines, meticulously constructed over centuries of archaeological discovery and textual analysis, would be shattered. The very notion of when and how civilization truly began would be thrown into question. If the pyramids predate the Old Kingdom Egyptians, or if they were built with technologies far beyond what we attribute to that era, then the entire chronological framework of human progress would need to be recalibrated. Now, as we approach the culmination of our exploration, we must consider the profound implications if any of these alternative theories were to be proven true. What would it mean for our understanding of history, of humanity, and of our place in the universe if the pyramids were indeed built by someone else? The ramifications would be nothing short of revolutionary, forcing a complete re-evaluation of virtually every academic discipline and every long-held belief. The implications for human origins would be equally staggering. If extraterrestrial beings were involved, whether as genetic engineers, mentors, or direct supervisors, it would fundamentally alter our understanding of human evolution. We would no longer be simply the product of natural selection and indigenous ingenuity, but potentially the result of a cosmic intervention. This would challenge Darwinian principles and force a re-evaluation of our place in the biological tapestry of the universe. Were we created? Were we guided? Or were we simply the beneficiaries of advanced knowledge passed down from beings beyond our world? Such a revelation would redefine what it means to be human. Archaeology, as a field, would undergo a seismic shift. New dating methods might need to be developed, or existing ones re-evaluated. Sites previously dismissed as insignificant or too ancient to be properly understood would suddenly become focal points of intense study. Excavations would need to be re-examined through a new lens, searching for evidence of technologies, materials, or even biological remains that defy the established narrative. The very tools and methodologies of archaeological inquiry would have to adapt to a reality far more complex than previously imagined. Similarly, if a lost terrestrial civilization like Atlantis or a pre-Diluvian culture built the pyramids, it would imply a cyclical view of human history rather than a linear progression. It would mean that humanity has achieved immense technological and spiritual heights before, only to fall and lose that knowledge, perhaps multiple times. This would force us to confront the humbling possibility that our current scientific and technological achievements, while impressive, are not necessarily the pinnacle of all human endeavor. It would suggest that we are not at the apex of an ever-ascending curve, but perhaps merely rediscovering fragments of a forgotten past. What other knowledge might have been lost in these cycles of rise and fall? What other advanced civilizations might lie buried beneath the sands or oceans, waiting to be rediscovered? Furthermore, if the pyramids utilized advanced cutting or levitation technologies, whether sonic, energetic, or anti-gravitational, the rediscovery of these methods would transform construction, manufacturing, and even space travel. Building colossal structures would become effortless. Materials could be manipulated at a molecular level. The very concept of gravity could be understood and potentially controlled, opening up possibilities for propulsion systems that defy our current understanding of physics. The military implications alone would be staggering, leading to a global race to understand and replicate these ancient secrets. Beyond the academic and historical implications, the technological ramifications would be immense. If the pyramids were indeed ancient power plants harnessing telluric currents, acoustic resonance, or some form of zero-point energy, the discovery of their true function would revolutionize modern technology. Imagine a world where clean, limitless energy could be extracted directly from the earth, rendering fossil fuels and conventional power grids obsolete. This free energy would transform global economies, eliminate energy poverty, and drastically reduce environmental pollution. The implications for transportation, manufacturing, and daily life would be profound, ushering in an era of unprecedented abundance and sustainability. If the pyramids were communication devices capable of interstellar transmission or reception, it would open a direct line to other intelligences in the cosmos. The air shafts pointing to specific stars, the precise dimensions encoding mathematical constants. These would become the keys to deciphering messages from beyond our world. This would not only confirm the existence of extraterrestrial life, but potentially provide us with a wealth of knowledge, accelerating our scientific and spiritual evolution at an unimaginable pace. The very act of decoding such messages would be a watershed moment in human history, fundamentally changing our perception of our place in the vastness of the universe. The very idea of a cosmic order or a divine plan would take on new dimensions. If the pyramids are part of a global energy grid, or if they were built to align with celestial cycles, it suggests a profound harmony between ancient builders, the Earth, and the cosmos. This would encourage a more holistic and interconnected worldview, moving away from a purely mechanistic understanding of the universe. It would highlight the importance of living in balance with nature, recognizing the subtle energies that permeate our world, and understanding our own energetic connection to the planet. The spiritual and philosophical impact of such revelations would be equally transformative. Major religions, particularly those with creation narratives that place humanity at the center of a unique divine act, would face immense challenges. If gods were indeed extraterrestrial beings or advanced humanoids, the very definition of divinity would be re-examined. Sacred texts would be reinterpreted, not as literal divine revelations, but as historical accounts of interactions between early humans and technologically superior beings. This could lead to a crisis of faith for some, while for others it might deepen their spiritual understanding, expanding the concept of creation to encompass a vast, interconnected cosmos. Our perception of human consciousness would also shift. If the pyramids were designed for spiritual or consciousness-altering purposes, as some esoteric interpretations suggest, it would imply that ancient builders understood the subtle energies of the human mind and its connection to the universe far better than we do today. The King's Chamber, with its unique energetic properties, might become a focal point for new forms of meditation, healing, and spiritual exploration. This could lead to a renaissance in our understanding of consciousness, unlocking latent human abilities and fostering a deeper connection to the universal energetic field. Our journey through the enigmatic world of the pyramids has taken us far beyond the conventional textbooks. We began with the widely accepted narrative of ancient Egyptian ingenuity, a story of human will and remarkable organization. Then, we delved into the perplexing anomalies, the subtle cracks in that consensus, which hint at something more. We explored the captivating possibility of a lost Atlantean civilization, a highly advanced culture whose remnants might be scattered across the globe. We then ventured into the cosmos, considering the audacious ancient astronaut hypothesis, where extraterrestrial beings influenced early human development and perhaps directly aided in the construction of these colossal structures. Finally, we examined the ancient accounts of giants and pre-Diluvian builders, suggesting a forgotten race or an advanced civilization swept away by a global cataclysm. Now, as we approach the culmination of our exploration, we must consider the profound implications if any of these alternative theories were to be proven true. What would it mean for our understanding of history, of humanity, and of our place in the universe if the pyramids were indeed built by someone else? The ramifications would be nothing short of revolutionary, forcing a complete re-evaluation of virtually every academic discipline and every long-held belief. The most immediate and dramatic consequence would be the complete rewriting of history. Our current historical timelines, meticulously constructed over centuries of archaeological discovery and textual analysis, would be shattered. The very notion of when and how civilization truly began would be thrown into question. If the pyramids predate the Old Kingdom Egyptians, or if they were built with technologies far beyond what we attribute to that era, then the entire chronological framework of human progress would need to be recalibrated. Archaeology, as a field, would undergo a seismic shift. New dating methods might need to be developed, or existing ones re-evaluated. Sites previously dismissed as insignificant or too ancient to be properly understood would suddenly become focal points of intense study. Excavations would need to be re-examined through a new lens, searching for evidence of technologies, materials, or even biological remains that defy the established narrative. The very tools and methodologies of archaeological inquiry would have to adapt to a reality far more complex than previously imagined. The implications for human origins would be equally staggering. If extraterrestrial beings were involved, whether as genetic engineers, mentors, or direct supervisors, it would fundamentally alter our understanding of human evolution. We would no longer be simply the product of natural selection and indigenous ingenuity, but potentially the result of a cosmic intervention. This would challenge Darwinian principles and force a re-evaluation of our place in the biological tapestry of the universe. Were we created? Were we guided? Or were we simply the beneficiaries of advanced knowledge passed down from beings beyond our world? Such a revelation would redefine what it means to be human. Similarly, if a lost terrestrial civilization like Atlantis, or a pre-Diluvian culture built the pyramids, it would imply a cyclical view of human history, rather than a linear progression. It would mean that humanity has achieved immense technological and spiritual heights before, only to fall and lose that knowledge, perhaps multiple times. This would force us to confront the humbling possibility that our current scientific and technological achievements, while impressive, are not necessarily the pinnacle of all human endeavor. It would suggest that we are not at the apex of an ever-ascending curve, but perhaps merely rediscovering fragments of a forgotten past. What other knowledge might have been lost in these cycles of rise and fall? What other advanced civilizations might lie buried beneath the sands or oceans, waiting to be rediscovered? Beyond the academic and historical implications, the technological ramifications would be immense. If the pyramids were indeed ancient power plants harnessing telluric currents, acoustic resonance, or some form of zero-point energy, the discovery of their true function would revolutionize modern technology. Imagine a world where clean, limitless energy could be extracted directly from the Earth, rendering fossil fuels and conventional power grids obsolete. This free energy would transform global economies, eliminate energy poverty, and drastically reduce environmental pollution. The implications for transportation, manufacturing, and daily life would be profound, ushering in an era of unprecedented abundance and sustainability. Furthermore, if the pyramids utilized advanced cutting or levitation technologies, whether sonic, energetic, or anti-gravitational, the rediscovery of these methods would transform construction, manufacturing, and even space travel. Building colossal structures would become effortless. Materials could be manipulated at a molecular level. The very concept of gravity could be understood and potentially controlled, opening up possibilities for propulsion systems that defy our current understanding of physics. The military implications alone would be staggering, leading to a global race to understand and replicate these ancient secrets. If the pyramids were communication devices capable of interstellar transmission or reception, it would open a direct line to other intelligences in the cosmos. The air shafts pointing to specific stars, the precise dimensions encoding mathematical constants. These would become the keys to deciphering messages from beyond our world. This would not only confirm the existence of extraterrestrial life, but potentially provide us with a wealth of knowledge, accelerating our scientific and spiritual evolution at an unimaginable pace. The very act of decoding such messages would be a watershed moment in human history, fundamentally changing our perception of our place in the vastness of the universe. The spiritual and philosophical impact of such revelations would be equally transformative. Major religions, particularly those with creation narratives that place humanity at the center of a unique divine act, would face immense challenges. If gods were indeed extraterrestrial beings or advanced humanoids, the very definition of divinity would be re-examined. Sacred texts would be reinterpreted, not as literal divine revelations, but as historical accounts of interactions between early humans and technologically superior beings. This could lead to a crisis of faith for some, while for others it might deepen their spiritual understanding, expanding the concept of creation to encompass a vast, interconnected cosmos. Our perception of human consciousness would also shift. If the pyramids were designed for spiritual or consciousness-altering purposes, as some esoteric interpretations suggest, it would imply that ancient builders understood the subtle energies of the human mind and its connection to the universe far better than we do today. The King's Chamber, with its unique energetic properties, might become a focal point for new forms of meditation, healing, and spiritual exploration. This could lead to a renaissance in our understanding of consciousness, unlocking latent human abilities and fostering a deeper connection to the universal energetic field. The very idea of a cosmic order or a divine plan would take on new dimensions. If the pyramids are part of a global energy grid, or if they were built to align with celestial cycles, it suggests a profound harmony between ancient builders, the Earth, and the cosmos. This would encourage a more holistic and interconnected worldview, moving away from a purely mechanistic understanding of the universe. It would highlight the importance of living in balance with nature, recognizing the subtle energies that permeate our world, and understanding our own energetic connection to the planet. However, even if a new builder were identified, the mysteries surrounding the pyramids would not necessarily vanish. They would simply evolve. New questions would inevitably arise. If Atlantis built them, where are the other Atlantean structures? What caused their downfall? If aliens were involved, what was their ultimate agenda? Are they still watching? If giants walked the earth, why did they disappear, and what was their true nature? The answers to these questions would lead to further inquiries, creating an unending tapestry of discovery. The pyramids would remain an enduring enigma, a catalyst for human curiosity, forever pushing the boundaries of our knowledge. The pyramids, regardless of their true origins, stand as a powerful symbol. They represent the human drive to create, to understand, and to connect with something larger than ourselves. They embody the enduring mystery of our past and the tantalizing possibilities of our future. They are a constant reminder that what we think we know is often just a small part of a much grander, more intricate reality. In the end, the question of who built the pyramids becomes less about finding a definitive answer and more about the journey of asking. It is about the courage to challenge established narratives, to explore the fringes of possibility, and to embrace the unknown. The echoes of the impossible continue to resonate from the sands of Giza, inviting us to listen, to question, and to imagine a history far more extraordinary than we ever dared to believe. The pyramids remain, silent and majestic, waiting for humanity to truly reclaim its history, one that might be written not just by scribes but by stars, by forgotten civilizations, and by the very energetic pulse of the earth itself. The quest for truth continues, and the pyramids stand as its eternal monument,